a little more pessimistic. I thought, just in the interest of honesty, and some people noticed, I believe after an election that it's important to go on. I've lived through some disappointing elections, and I think it's important to go on, to realize you can't tell the future, to keep an open mind. Maybe you can't cooperate with this person. Maybe it's Ronald Reagan, and you think he's going to start World War III, but he makes friends with Gorbachev, and the Soviet Union falls. Who knows? Okay, so those are my attitudes from before. On the other hand, I do remember some things that I predicted, and I thought, well, in the interest of honesty, I'll go through those things. Plus, probably people would like to see the more pessimistic side. So it looks like the audio is working for a change. All right. One, Roe v. Wade. There's a good chance that in the next, 4 8 years, that Roe v. Wade could be overturned. Certainly during an 8 year period, if that, for God's sakes, could happen. And that would be bad. So, I mean, I don't think that that's going to be the death knell for social justice warriors if they now have to actually fight to keep the right to choice. So, um, that's a thing. There's that stupid wall. Now, there's an entertainment value to that of watching him try to get the Mexicans to pay. How much money will we pay to build walls before we recoup some of that? So that's a bad idea. Now, when we get scary is the Muslim ban. I think there'd be pushback for this, but this is just the thing of, I had predicted that the problem with Trump is not any particular policy, and I don't think he's really that much worse as a policy than Republicans, maybe better than the other Republicans, but it's just sort of the randomness and things that are extreme, like a Muslim ban, just out of his, common sense kind of thing. And the fact that this sort of stuff could lead to civil unrest and violence. And, either side can throw the first blow in a particular thing. It's the issue of fomenting it. But doing something like a Muslim ban, I think, he would get quick blowback from the legal system, but could foment civil unrest. One thing that's probably bad is, like, people were like, oh, if it's Hillary, she'll be in court all these years and stuff. Well, so is Trump. Believe me, I know years and years worth of Trump stories, and we're going to be going over those for 4 years at least, over and over, blog after blog after blog of all his crimes and misdemeanors. And I'm telling you, look up Roy Cohn. Look up Roy Cohn, John Gotti's lawyer. Look up the Atlantic Gaming Commission. Look up how he got the Taj Mahal from the Hilton family. Look why he doesn't have a gaming license in Las Vegas, where he has a hotel that has no casino. Look that up, because whether you look it up or not, of course, his many, many enemies, devout as such as they are, will be mulling over that. So that's going to be a kind of chaos. He says he loves war. He loves war. That's his own words. And bombing innocent relatives of terrorists and stuff is a good idea. I think that's going to be bad. Of course, we've already had Republican administrations reinvent legitimacy for torture, and a Democrat, pursue it. But I think that under a Trump, there could be a lot of license to go back to the even worse thing. Then there's Pence. Pence is a guy who wants women to have to attend funerals of their abortions, would make abortion illegal, would make all of the same sex. He's like that we know Trump wants to offload all the real work onto the vice president, and that Pence is that person means that even though Trump is hard to work with, there's this rubber stamp factory that I'm worried will just rubber stamp all of the regular Paul Ryan ideas, and without even an advantage of whatever Trump's judgment is, because why would he even worry? And Pence is like worse than Trump. It's like having Ted Cruz. Um, and I think there's a real problem with Trump is revengeful. Now, one part of that is that there's a lot of Republicans that have to be on that list. Um, if he goes after someone like Bill Maher or Rosie O'Donnell, I think that would expose him again to legal and blowback that would blow up in his face. But I think people in Washington, especially people that don't have their own celebrity, are possibly liable to some pretty horrible stuff since we have a guy who says that you need to do revenge. Revenge is important, or else they don't take you seriously. Now, are there good things? Well, yeah, if he tries to eliminate or redo NAFTA, it does infrastructure bills, even when everybody was bad mouthing and the Republicans, the Planned Parenthood, he's like, yeah, but they do some good stuff. There's a side of him that used to be a sort of liberal Republican, New York style Republican. And so maybe that stuff will come out. Maybe he can work with some of the Democrats better than any of the other ones could. But these are pretty serious things. And I'll reiterate what I'd been saying before. The main thing to me is that I think there's a kind of civil unrest that can unfold. And I think when you enable the kind of people that Trump has enabled, even if Trump was just talking, and just running a campaign, that those people become difficult to deal with. And they're also possible to ignore from Washington, D.C. and New York because they're out there in the country. So, what kind of mayhem might that produce? Um, on the other hand, my optimism is basically I do think we have a decent system of checks and balances. When Bush got elected, I thought that the Supreme Court made the wrong decision overruling the Florida Supreme Court. I think they were wrong. However, I was happy that we had gears that could throw into gear, and come into play, and we could have a peaceful transition because I know that in the history of the geopolitics of the earth, that is when civil wars start and stuff. So we have mechanisms that help prevent that. We can't prevent the discretion of a particular committee in our, you know, organization to always be correct, but you can be consistent, and then you can have an evolution. The decisions change. You have Dred Scott, but then you have a realization eventually of, oh, it was a mistake, because it's not like there's infallibility. What there is a reliability. So, so Trump is president, and we have reliable reactions if he does turn out to be a fascist or do half of the things that are unconstitutional that he said. And I do plan to start reading the Constitution once a week because it's pretty short and it's a good read. And I think I might as well commit it to memory because a lot of the people that say they defend it, I don't think they support taxing people to do a census. It's like science and information. They can only deceive. All right. Cheers.